did you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm going to be showing you the vampire, the PvP Magicka Sorcerer. A lot of you have been watching the streams recently have probably seen the majority of this in progress, like when I was building up the character and the idea behind it. But basically this is taking advantage of some rather unpopular, or one rather unpopular set, basically. If you're a werewolf, you stay as a werewolf until it runs out and you pretty much make the most of it. But when you're a vampire, it's just passive buffs, right? Well, there's a set that complements the vampire skill line, and I've made the most out of that to the point where it's actually really, really annoying. So I'm going to go over a lot of things here, including the armor, the setup, the CPs, all that kind of stuff. They all intertwine into one, so try and keep up if you can, but I'll explain it as best I can along the way, and then I'll obviously put timestamps in the video. So we'll start off with the stats. Some of these are hidden, but I will explain that as well as we go. So we'll buff up quickly, tickle potion, look at the stats screen. Sitting on 38.7k Magicka, 26.3k health, 1.4k recovery, that can be increased, I'll explain that in a minute, 2.7k spell damage, 20k resist almost across the board, and 2.5k crit resistance. Now, two pieces that I'm wearing don't have crit resistance on them. If you get those, then of course that will bump that up over 3k, and you're good. But don't go over 3.2 because there's a cap. The spell damage at 2.7 is actually increased furthermore by a spell and weapon damage glyph, which will put it over 3k, and then one of the sets I'm using increases certain abilities by a further 400, so that goes a lot higher as well. Now, the food you can change to if you're not comfortable with recovery. At the moment, I'm using max health, max Magicka food. So my recovery is 1.4 if I use a potion. However, if you switch to Witch Mother's Brew, you will lose stats. You'll have less health and less Magicka, but you can go to 1.9k recovery. So if you're more comfortable with that, then that's entirely up to you. Also using the Astronaut Mundus Stone. Now we're in Morrowind at the moment because I'm on the console, but when Horns of the Reach comes in, this will actually be a lot stronger. So you'll have more recovery anyway. Stage 4 Vampire, of course, and I'll explain why. Not only that, you're using your abilities all the time, so you're going to have no choice. But there's a lot of things that all work together. You'll see why. 64 points into Magicka as well. Let me change up food because I really don't preference it, but it's up to you. Now, I'm going to go into skills first, then I'm going to explain how they work alongside the gear, because this is a lot easier to use than it is to explain. So, skills first of all. Inner Light, this is morphed from the original, and I've forgotten what it's called, brilliant, from the Mages Guild, which I'll show you where it is actually, so it's easier for some of you who don't know where it is to find. This one here, is it Mage Light, I think it starts as, that might be the one. To Inner Light, basically this gives you a crit bonus, which we are going to need some crit so that we can get a benefit from our heals, which I'll explain in a moment. And of course it gives you, let's go back to the skill at the top, you can decloak people by activating it, although I don't use it that much. This little light here, and it gives you max Magicka. Now that gives you 5% max Magicka for slotting it, which is nice, but if you have max Mages Guild passives, this also gives you a further 2% max magic and recovery, which I'll show you in a moment. So this is very important for our max stats. Invigorate and Drain, this is absolutely disgusting. This is a vampire ability where you basically stun the target, feed off them, healing yourself for a maximum of 22% of your missing health, which can crit, and then it gives you 5 ultimate a second for 3 seconds. So 15 ultimate just for using it. It's filth. And it's a CC as well, so it's quite nasty. Hardened Ward, goes without saying you're going to need a shield, so we use this. It shields you. You can't be crit while you're on the shield, and then we have crit resistance for when our shield is down. Not the Crown Store, stupid. Go back to skills. Elusive Mist, this is a morph of Mist form. Basically, when it's activated, you're immune to CCs, and you take 75% less damage, and you move faster. Now, if you're already CC'd, you can use this to get out of it, except for stuns, I believe. Snares and roots and all that kind of stuff, you can use this to get out, but an actual stun, you need to break it. Mage's Wrath, this is your main execute. There's 2 ways to do this. When they're below 20% health, you can spam it and kill them, or you can put it on early, and then pin them down and do loads of damage, and if they reach 20% or less, it pops and they die. Devouring Swarm, this is filth. Basically, do I have it active? No, I don't. Okay, this will create a swarm of bats in a small area of effect. In fact, 10 meters, which is quite a large area. Doing magic damage every second to every single enemy in the vicinity. However, every single enemy hit per second will heal you. Now, bolt escape. This is how you get out or how you get in. It's up to you. You can use it as a gap closer, or you can use it to get the hell out really, really fast and then misform and keep running, whatever. Now, this isn't morphed, but I would morph it to the one that does shock damage when you go past enemies. If you hit them, it will stun them. So if you pass through the enemy, it will stun them. Also, it gives you a decent gap to get away. But remember that if you use this more than once every 4 seconds, you will increase the cost. So be careful how you use it. We use Healing Ward. This basically, the shield's stronger, the less health you have. So use it when you're in trouble, and it will heal you when it runs out for quite a lot. It's a bit broken, to be fair. Really, really strong heal. You can use that alongside Hardened Ward as well. They do stack, and they can't be crit if the shield is on you. Boundless Storm, I use this as a speed bonus, a resist bonus, and of course a damage bonus to anyone close to me. Like if anyone's within range of this, what's the range of this? 5 meters. It will zap them once a second, doing a decent amount of shock damage, as well as giving you these resistances. And I'll show you in the passives in a moment why that's very, very important. Not just for your resists, but the damage that you do can actually proc a heal or an execute. That's where this comes in. Power Surge grants you 20% extra spell damage, and your crits will heal you. So even if it doesn't do much damage, as long as you actually did a critical hit, this will heal you. So if this zaps someone and crits, this will heal you once a second. If your bats crit damage, this can heal you from it. So they work hand in hand. Proximity detonation, this is Magicka Bomb, I believe. Activate it like this. Lasts for 8 seconds. You can see it in the buff timer at the bottom there. The pink thing with the big circular, or the sphere. Now, when it hits 0, it goes boom. So we're now going to see that. But you can mess with it. See that? Decent area of effect explosion. Now, first of all, the more enemies in the vicinity, the stronger it is, by 25% per target. So if you go into the middle of loads and loads of people, boom, it does loads of damage. Up to 250% extra. No more than that. But if you're running here, and I want to go over there somewhere, and then blow it up, it's going to blow up before I get there. Reactivate it, and it'll start the timer again. Reactivate it again, it'll start the timer again. You decide when it blows up. I mean, obviously the timer has to run out, but it doesn't have to be cast and wasted. You can start it again. So, a bit of tactical play involved there. Shoot and start. This isn't maxed yet, but it should be. Basically like Ice Comet. Big meteor falls out of the sky, decent amount of damage, and leaves a dot on the ground. So anyone standing in it takes damage over time. But you also gain 10 ultimate for every enemy hit, up to a maximum of 81 returned, I think, is capped. But I believe that goes up further if you level this up to level 4. So, some passives that are very important before I get to the complicated stuff. These here are not entirely essential, unless of course you want Negate Magic, which is a nice area of effect. Stun, really handy. But if you're using this, then you'll need some of these passives here. If you're not, then the only one you'll need is this, which reduces the cost of your abilities. So just take that and you're done. Daedric Summoning, we're not using any pets or anything. The only ability we're using is Hardened Ward. So for having that on the bar, we take this, which will give us increased stamina recovery and health recovery. Health recovery is not that important because we're a vampire anyway, so it's reduced, but the stamina recovery is definitely very nice. And of course this one, which is the most crucial passive to this overall setup, and that is that your ultimates cost 15% less. Storm Calling, get every single one of these. There's recovery, there's shock damage from your execute and your boundless storm. There is a chance, 6% chance in fact, that any enemy below 15% that gets hit by any lightning from you can just die, basically. They blow up, they take a load of shock damage. Depending on their resists, of course. And this increases your spell damage for each sorcerer ability slotted. At the moment we have 2 on this bar, so it's 4% overall, and then 3 on the back bar, which is 6% overall. So quite a nice buff. Dual wield, make sure you get Twin Blade and Blunt. We are using 2 swords, as you can see. Well, I'll get to that in a moment. That increases your overall damage done by 5%, 2.5% per sword. Ruffian, I cannot 100% confirm whether this actually stacks or not, but get it anyway, just in case it does. You will be immobilizing targets, they will be disorientated, they will be off balance, all those types of things. They will be taking some serious damage regardless, so just ding it on just in case. I'm not 100% sure on that one though. The rest of those staff abilities, get every single one of these passives that you can. It will give you Magicka if you block a spell on that bar, although you probably won't, you're probably on the front bar. Excuse me. Restores an additional 30% Magicka when you complete a heavy attack. That's crucial. Finish your heavy attacks if you're going for sustain. This will increase your healing to allies done under 30% health, including yourself, so your healing ward is stronger. And of course, you gain major mending for 3 seconds after completing a fully charged heavy attack. So if you heavy attack, then healing ward, nice big heal for you there. Now, this one's obviously important to increase your overall heals from that skill line, but I didn't finish this line yet, but you definitely do need to get them. Who's trading me? What do you want? Are you trying to sell me something? I don't want to buy anything. No thanks. No thanks. Let's carry on. Light armor. Now, we're not using full light armor. We're using 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium. So, get all the passives that are required for anything under 5 pieces. These two, ignore them. These, get them all. Increases your recovery, your reduction to cost, and that kind of stuff. It's minimal stats, but all the small percentages are what count in this game. Medium, same applies. We're using 1 medium, so, I mean, this one's not really essential, but I do heavy attack to get stamina back with the swords, which I'll explain in a moment. You get recovery, you get dodge roll reduction costs, sneak costs reduction, all that kind of stuff. You're going to need it. Just don't touch this one because it's for 5 pieces of medium and we're not using it. Heavy armor, get every single one of these. We're using 5 heavy, we need all of them. Extra resources back when you do a heavy attack, stamina or magicka, depending on what you're using. Increases your weapon and spell damage the more damage you take. This, by the way, stacks up to 20 times. As long as you're still taking damage every 5 seconds at maximum, this will stack and stack and stack and it will stay with you. Juggernaut, of course, increases our max health by 10% actually because we're using 5 pieces. Constitution, a bit of return, and health recovery, but health recovery is not that important. Resolve, of course, bigger resists. These are very important passives, you must get them all. Legend Domain, of course, get this leveled as soon as possible. The fastest ways to do this is, of course, steal loads and loads of stuff, sell it back to the Fence in the Thieves Guild, and this will contribute to your skill level. The faster you get this level up, the better, because you need that reduction to sneak cost, otherwise you're going to struggle with stamina all the time. You sneak fast because you're a vampire, which is here. Darkstalker reduces the time it takes to actually crouch during the night, and so you can hide faster. And also, you'll see that movement speed is this normally, and if you sneak, it's exactly the same. So you can sneak at full speed, but it does cost, so you need to get that skill line up here to reduce the cost of it. Improved hiding. It goes up to 40%, which is quite nice. Vampire, of course, every single passive. This one isn't essential because this is your ability to bite somebody else and turn them into a vampire, but if you want it, then go for it. But every single one of these knocks the target off balance if you're feeding them. Gives you stamina and magicka recovery across the board. The lower your health, the less damage you take. This is essential. Reduces the severity of the health recovery at stage 4. That's a bit meh, doesn't really matter, but take it anyway. And this one is, of course, the one I just showed you, where you sneak faster. Vampire is essential to this build because he is based around all the vampire stuff. Fighters Guild. This is just for quests, so grab that for that. This is crucial. If you kill anything that is undead, daedra, or werewolf, you get 9 ultimate. Players are most of the time a vampire or a werewolf, you'll gain ulti for that. Also get these because these are based upon PvP, but you won't need skill tracker essentially because you're not using any Fighters Guild abilities. You just get ulti for killing them, and this allows you to pick up a few quests. But this definitely you need. Mages Guild, max this out. Shooting Star, of course, Mages Guild level 10. That's Meteor Morphed. You need this, which we've already explained. And you need these, which will reduce the cost of the abilities you use, including Mage Light, which is quite expensive. Increases duration, so they last longer. And of course, gives you max magic and recovery for each one of those skills slotted. Now, we only have one, which is this one here, and then this one here. But each bar now has a flat 2% recovery and max magic for having those slotted on the bar. Very handy. Undaunted, max these out. I know some people don't like to do dungeons, but you need these maxed out. We're using 3 different types of armor. 1 light piece, 1 medium piece, and 5 heavy. So there's 3 different types. So for doing so, we gain 6% resources. So 6% max health, 6% max stamina, 6% max magicka. That really, really helps. And of course, take synergies, you get stuff back. here. These passives do benefit you a lot in PvP. You are going to need to get them all, so you can look at them in your own time, but the most important one is this. This gives you 10 ultimate when a player is killed, if you kill them. When this is maxed, it gives you 20. That's very important, and I will explain why in a moment. Support abilities, of course, increases recovery and bits and pieces like that, and of course reduces the time it takes to res people. You're going to need all these. Look at them in your own time if you want, but you are going to need them. High elf, we are a high elf. Max recovery, max magicka, and extra elemental damage. So we need to max these out as well. Last one, but not least, of course, I don't have it on this character because I generally don't really struggle with it, but for yourselves, I would definitely recommend that you get medicinal use, which is this here. Medicinal use level 3 will increase the strength, will increase the duration of your potions by 30%, meaning if you're using crafted potions, they'll last 47 seconds with recovery on them, and it takes 45 seconds for you to be able to cast another potion. So you have 100% uptime on all your potions. You need this maxed first to be able to max this. Now, there is a video on my channel, which I'll put in the description, showing you how to get medicinal use to max level, and alchemy to max level, in fact, very, very quickly. In fact, within about 15 minutes flat. So if you were interested, take a look at that video. It's in the description. That should help you out there. Now we need to put this all together. This is not as tricky as it's going to sound because it's mostly done for you, but let's look at the gear. We are using, let's go to these first, 2-piece Bloodspawn, light and a medium. Doesn't matter which order that's in, whether this is light or medium or the other's light or medium, but make sure you have one of each. I want them in impen. I don't have them in impen, so if I did, then I would reduce my CPs a little bit, but for now, this is what it is. That's what I've got. So, light and medium Bloodspawn. This gives you stamina recovery, which you do need because you're going to be CC'd and all that kind of stuff. You need to get your stam back. And also 15 ultimate plus 6.3k resists for 6 seconds if you take damage with a 6% chance to do it. Now, in the Horns of the Reach patch, yes, this is going down to 14, but it's barely anything at all in comparison to what it is. And that's 1 point of ultimate lost. Whoopie-doo. It's fine. This is nuts. This is essential to our ultimate gain, and it procs all the bloody time. Especially if you're in a Zerg and you're getting jumped a lot. 5-piece Dragon. This is really, really important. I've got a Tri-Stat enchant, okay, Kaiju enchant, whatever you want to call it. Prismatic even, on the chest, just because it's one of the bigger pieces. With impen, put impen on everything. Chest, belt, hands, legs, feet. So I have max magic on everything, but on the chest I've put the Tri-Stat glyph, just to buffer the stats a little bit, otherwise I'm a little bit squishy. This gives you magicka recovery, healing taken, max health, which is nice, and of course this is essential as well, 15% reduction to ulti costs. Then we have the last set, which is the one that people do not use generally, and that is the purpose for the set. That is a Vampire Lord. Use a sharpened sword. Yes, I know this got reduced in Horns of the Reach, but don't worry, you can plug it with your CPs. Max magic, spell damage, spell crit. All of these stats have been slightly improved with the new patch. And the last one is very important. Nearly 400 spell damage to your vampire abilities. See, this doesn't show on the stat sheet, but this adds an extra 400 spell damage to your bats and to your invigorate and drain. This is really important. Then above all, reduces the cost of your vampire abilities by 5%, including your ulti. The sword, the second one is a decisive to give us more ulti gain. And on the back bar, I'm using the resto staff, also indecisive, but with a poison attached. Decisive is nuts, by the way. So really, really, really strong, especially when you're trying to get heavy attack in to get your sustain back. You gain extra ulti. The poison I'm using increases the cost of people's ultimate and their magicka costs for their abilities for a set amount of time. It's not massive, but it does help, and it increases your spell power by a small percentage as well. But these are really, really annoying, so I would recommend using those, since I don't really worry about a trait on the resto stuff. A glyph on the resto stuff. Spell damage on one sword, oblivion damage on the other. Make sure you light attack before you use an ability if you're up in their face. 3 Vampire Lord jewelry pieces, all with max spell damage. If you're struggling for recovery, which you shouldn't be, but if you are, you can reduce it a little bit, but just take into account that will lessen your damage, and we kind of want to do as much as possible in the shortest amount of time, especially in a big bunch of enemies. We'll go over CPs and then I'll explain why this is so important. CPs, first of all, are up to you, but this is where I've put them. I have 50 in resistance to give me the crit bonus. Now, if I had a blood spawn with impen, helmet and shoulder, then I would drop this down by around 500 and put it into here, so I take less damage from single target hits like shards or reckon blows, anything like that. So you can take them out of here and put them into here if you want. That will help a lot. Dot reduction, 40 in there. Physical reduction and poison and disease and all the rest of it, and elemental as well, all pretty decent across the board. This one here is 11 in quick recovery, not just for the one jump point for the healing received, but of course this as well. When you're res people, you take 15% less damage. Very, very important. You can almost use it as a buff at the right time. 44 into Warlord. You will be getting stunned, so you will need to break free. That hurts. You need some points into there. Tenacity 49 for when you heavy attack and with your resto stuff. Add that to the 25% bonus you get for using 5 heavy. You get quite a lot back really quickly as well. And of course the rest into recovery here, 75 points. If you spend 25 points extra to make it 100, you only get 1%, so don't waste your points in there. 40 points into tumbling, hitting the 16% jump point, and the last 2 points I've just put into block cost reduction. You probably block occasionally. There's nowhere else to put the 2 points that would benefit you, so I put it into there. This is important. 75 Elemental Expert for maximum damage to your Magicka, Shock, Frost, and Flame. We're using a lot of magic damage. You want to boost it as much as possible without overcapping your diminished returns and really struggling with it. So don't spend any more points in here. The extra 25 points, again, will only give you 1%, and that is terrible. Don't mess with it. Just leave it at 75 or even lower if you want, but 75 is the cap I would go to. Extra points into penetration. Now we are going to get 10 more points in Horns of the Reach, so you can pump that into here to cover the fact that we're losing a bit on the sharpened. 2 points into Master at Arms, just because the rest of the diminishing returns and jump points and stuff aren't being used, so I've put it into there to increase some flat damage for direct damage abilities, and also excuse me, some extra shield damage here, which is quite nice. 75 points into Thaumaturge, so you can get the Exploiter passive. You will be knocking stuff off balance left, right and center, especially when you're using all these stun and CC abilities, and it will benefit you a lot. Plus we're using a shit ton of damage over time skills. Not necessarily a lot of skills, but the ones we're using do benefit from this. The bats, that's a damage over time. You're doing loads of that. And the Invigorate and Drain also is a damage over time, and even your resto stuff when you're trying to get stuff back. So 75 in there, 75 in there, the rest into penetration, and a little bit into shield damage. Now, how do we put this all together? First of all, the Vampire Lord gives us a 5% reduction to our vampire abilities, reducing the cost of our ultimate and our skills we use. Then, the Dragon reduces our ulti costs by a further 15%. Then, we are a Sorcerer, which means it's reduced yet again. Where is it gone? By a further 15%. You can see where this is going. The ultimate's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And then if you go into the characters screen, you'll see that being a stage 4 vampire also reduces your vampire abilities by a further 21%. Our reduction to cost is disgusting. Now, of course that means that the vampire ultimate is really, really cheap. In fact, you have to activate ability first, which you normally do. 94 ultimate. That's really, 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 really cheap. Every enemy you hit heals you. Broken. Now, we're using a decisive weapon, so we can gain extra ulti from our light attacks or any other ultimate that we gain, so we can gain it really, really quick. A light attack on its own will give you 3 ulti a second for 8 seconds. Invigorate and Drain, which you will be using a lot, gives you 15 ultimate over 3 seconds. Bloodspawn, which is also broken, 15 in the new patch, 14 ultimate if you take damage and this procs. So you can see where this is going with the ulti gain as well. Also, if you fire off this, you gain ulti for each enemy hit, which can eventually mean this is usable straight away. And of course, this is also very, very important. You need to max this out as soon as possible to take full advantage of it. But if you kill a player, max this out, 20 ultimate for killing a player. It's really, really high ulti gain. And also, last but not least, the Fighters Guild, if they happen to be a werewolf or a vampire at the same time, you gain a further 9. So, 9 ulti for them being a vampire, 20 ultimate for them being a player, 3 ultimate a second for a light attack, 15, 14 in fact, from Bloodspawn if you take damage and it procs. You also gain extra ultimate for your decisive weapon, which can add 1 every time your ultimate ticks. You see where this is going. You can basically, in stressful situations, spam your bats. So you can stun them, CC them, heal yourself, gain ultimate from this, and you can pressure really large groups with this at the same time as, of course, using proxy debt. So you'd always use this and your bats combined. Keep your buffs up, keep a heal if you need one, and this I don't use to get out of trouble. I use it to get in. So I'll proxy that, and if it's got a couple of seconds left, I'll get in, switch bars, vampire bats straight away, everybody dies. And as soon as you find a target, as soon as you know which one you want to kill, hit him with Invigorate and Drain straight away, while inside your bats you can't die. It's disgusting. Okay, now, these aren't players, of course. Players you get 20 ultimate per kill. Undead you get 9. If they're undead and a player you get both. But I'm going to give you a quick example of how fast your ulti gain is. I'm probably going to have to kill myself off this cliff because it's a bit quicker. Up we get. This area is normally quite busy, so we'll see. It's quite a favoured XP grind spot. Incidentally, if you want to level up fast by killing zombies, do it at stupid o'clock in the morning, because then it's quiet. And the XP is yours then, rather than having to fight for it, like scraps. Oh, I did forget to mention also, potions. Very simple. Immovability pot. Gives you health and max magic, and gives you recovery for both, for 47 seconds if you have medicinal use, but I don't. So I should have, but I don't. And also makes you immune to knockdowns. So use that just before you jump in. And there's nothing to kill. Oh, yes there is. I need to find a spawn where there aren't loads of people contesting it. What I'll try to do is give you an example of an ice comet straight into a bat. Okay, we've got ulti now, we're good. This side isn't usually that busy. Yes, good, we'll take this. Grab these. And as you can see, my ulti, let's put this on as well, is just about ready for an ice comet. Shooting star even. Boom, swap bars. Bat straight away. Now of course they're undead, so they contribute towards that, but I'm busy, I'm afraid. You can get the execute on them early and then drain them. Pop. Same works in PvP as well. A little bit harsher targets of course because they resist, but pin him down. Pop. Same for this dude, pin him down. Pop. What I would always recommend is keep your buffs up, keep your proxy debt up, steam in, put your bats on, game over. Now of course that's against NPCs, mobs, whatever you want to call them, so it's a lot easier to do, but that's essentially what you need to do to kill people. Keep this on, keep your buffs on, get in, bats and invigorate and drain and execute. Nothing else more complicated to do. Keep your shields up if you get in trouble, heal with a healing ward if you get in real trouble, mist form if you need to get out of the way. Come back in with your bats, boom, with proxy debt, start again, and you can spam it. If you're in a real big zerg, and you will be, or even if you've got 2 or 3 people against you at once, you can pretty much spam your bats. The most important skill above all to keep up is invigorate and drain. Watch my ulti. Goes through the roof. Don't forget to light attack. Kill him. So this is gonna hurt actually. Nothing to it. Again, yes, they're zombies, but Against the player, it's no different. You saw me heavy attack with a sword then? That's if your stam's low. So if you dodge roll again. Oh my god, I'm out of stamina. Give him a heavy attack. Can't hit him. You get loads back. Plus you've got blood spawn, which gives you a recovery bonus anyway. Keep them pinned all the time. If they get out of this, keep pressuring them with that drain. You'll gain ulti, you will heal, you will stun them, and then you can kill them. And I'm sitting on nearly 300 ulti. It's disgusting. Okay. So, go back to the house. Again, it's very important that you keep your buffs up. Most importantly of all, always make sure you get a light attack in if you can, because it'll increase your spell damage with that glyph. Or it'll do oblivion damage with the other one. And then invigorate and drain straight away. Most people forget to break out of that ability because they're on their feet and they're wiggling. So they think nothing's wrong. So take advantage of that. But when you're in the fight, basically, instead of just spamming one ability all the time, keep your buffs up. Keep this on. Light attack, bats, light attack, drain. Normally they're execute. You can actually put the execute on early and then drain them underneath it and it'll pop. But the drain is essential. Not just for the damage, because it is quite high in PvP, but for the ulti gain, it is disgusting. You'll see even here, I'll light attack and drain, and that's it. Watch, I'm on 74%. 74 points, sorry. And by the time it's finished, I'm on 106 and rising. Run out again. And that's without anyone being killed. Or without me being hit. If anyone would have died then, it would have given me 20, maybe another 9 if they're undead. And if they hit me, I get a further 14 from blood spawn. You see where I'm going with it. You can practically spam bats. Anyway, I'll show you a quick clip. I do get wrecked a little bit actually in this clip. Anyway, I'll show you a couple clips of some solo stuff. I think mostly solo. Jumping in against the odds basically, and you can see for yourself. Also, if you have more than one of these working together, it's hell. So take advantage of that, of course. And the more enemies around you, the stronger you are, because you just do damage to everything and heal off the whole lot. So, hopefully that wasn't too boring. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. I do normally answer most questions, nearly all of them, but as I'm approaching 7k subs, I don't always get notifications for everything now. They kind of thin out the notifications I get, so I'll just try and keep an eye and get to them when I can. So, first of all, thank you all very, very much for your support. I hugely appreciate it. And, of course, if you're not subscribing already, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support the channel outside of YouTube, there is a donation pot Patreon page, a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and of course the website xynodegaming.com. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I will see you all in the next stream. And if you didn't know that already, I'm streaming every single day from 10 PM UK time onwards. Thank you very much once more, and goodbye.